Okay, for nothing else, you should watch this movie for the opening tracking shot. I'm just saying, I saw the opening tracking shot, I was like, this is gonna be the best James Bond movie ever. Whether or not it is, guess that's what we're gonna talk about here. Spectre. So Spectre is the newest James Bond movie with Daniel Craig as the lead character, James Bond. It picks up not long after Skyfall. James Bond's kind of going off the books and he has his mission he wants to accomplish. And back home, MI6 is ultimately dealing with everything the crew had to deal with in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Seriously, it's the exact same thing. But James Bond's search leads him to the super shady shadow organization called Spectre. Alright, there were things to like about this movie for sure. If you missed my opening statement in this video, go back and watch it because this movie is supremely shot. Seriously, from the get-go, I was like, this is gonna be the best James Bond movie ever. It is one of the most well-shot James Bond movies ever. The action scenes were well-shot, you weren't confused, it wasn't doing that weird shaky cam shit too much. It was exciting, it was suspenseful, it was dirty. I mean, there's something about these James Bond movies from Casino Royale on, except Quantum of Solace. The fights are just gritty and people are going through tables, going through walls. The sound effects really bring you into it. When bottles crack over people's heads, you feel like you're like, that glass shattered and hurt, caused a concussion. I love the action in these movies. And Daniel Craig is great as James Bond once again. This dude is showing us why he's one of the best James Bonds ever. I like the girl also. There's this girl in this movie. They try too hard to make her the one. Like, oh, maybe James Bond could really love this girl. I don't really buy that too much. She was a solid Bond girl though. 1, she had the look. 2, she was a good actress. 3, she knew how to shoot. Like, she could throw down if she really needed to. But this movie had quite a few trip-ups. First of all, you have Christoph Waltz as the main villain. That should be a home run right there. It's really not. Not when he isn't great when he's on screen for all 3 scenes he's on screen in this movie. That's 3 scenes, folks. You know these James Bond movies, they're not short ordeals. This movie's going on and on and on. You're like, come on, let's meet the villain. Come on, let's meet the villain. You finally meet him and it's a great scene. You know, he's all shadowy. You saw it in the trailer. You know, he's all blacked out. You don't really know who he is. Super villain status right there. All right, let's not see this guy for a long time again. I was just really disappointed in how they handled the villain in this movie. A movie like this needs a great villain. You look at Silva in the last one. He was awesome. You hear about how terrible he is at first, and then you finally meet him and he has this great introduction where he's just walking towards James Bond, giving a monologue about rats. He was smart, but he did shit. He got it done. He did some terrible stuff in Skyfall. I feel like Christoph Waltz more or less talked about how awesome he has been in his life. We have messed with your life so much in the past. They go through such lengths to beat over your head how awesome this guy has been in the past without actually showing you enough of that in the present. It kind of reminds me of that pathetic 40-year-old who still wears his Letterman's jacket talking about the good old days. It's like, yeah, I get it. Just show me stuff now, though. And it only really infuriates me that they completely wasted the villain in this movie because the paper trail and the breadcrumbs that James Bond is following trying to find this organization, it's not that interesting. Some great action sequences sprinkled in there for sure, but when he's actually just on the hunt, you're like, all right. Just basic spy stuff. And with a great villain, you could have still brought it home and made it a great Bond movie. It's like, all right, the paper trail, yeah, but that villain was awesome. And it partly has to do with this subplot that is completely Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. The thing where the government's trying to annex the 00 program into them because they're like, ah, it's an obsolete format. And it's the whole information is the new age and Big Brother's gonna watch and that's how we're gonna keep a handle on things. Every scene that has to do with that, you could have just concentrated on Spectre more and the villain there. You could have had more villainous development, but the movie really never actually goes there. And as much as this movie looks like it's going to be a personal journey of discovery for James Bond, it is in a sense, but not as much as it could have been. It's like, ooh, this deep person. All right, moving on. Whoa, what? You're not even going to concentrate, you're just going to breeze by that? All right. Guys, in the end, there was enough to enjoy in Spectre. Daniel Craig shows us why he still has the part, although allegedly it's his last one. The action was fantastic. It was exciting. It was an interesting enough movie, but when I was watching it, I was like, would I care as much if it wasn't a James Bond movie? I don't know that I would have. I mean, James Bond, the character and the universe, it's gotten us, you know? That's what brings us into it. And that's what makes us tolerate sloppy writing more. Still a fun enough movie, not as good as Casino Royale or Skyfall, loads better than Quantum of Solace. I'll say Spectre is a good time. No alcohol required. All right, guys, so your favorite James Bond villain, who is it? Whoever it is, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.